Tristan here from Bird Spokes in Minnesota and Wheelworks in New Zealand. I'm going to run through building your first wheel with Trudi. We're going to get the wheel ready, install the wheel into Trudi, measure the wheel's dish, and then enter what we call the truing cycle until it's finished. We suggest using a rear wheel for your first wheel, and this wheel should be laced and depth set. The spoke tension should be between about 40 kilograms and 80 kilograms. Should be true to within about 5 millimeters laterally and 2 millimeters radially, and it should be dished to within about 5 millimeters. This procedure is the same for either steel spokes or bird spokes, and once you're familiar with the Trudi, this process will take about 7 minutes. Let's go. Install the valve locator band into the rim's valve hole. Set the rim diameter by loosening the radial adjustment lever and aligning the arrow on the right side of the gauge bar with the desired wheel diameter. Loosen the lateral adjustment lever and push the gauges to the left side of the gauge bar. Orient your wheel high tension side to the left. Insert the wheel into Trudi by opening the hub mount, inserting the hub between the hub centering cones, and releasing the hub mount. Depress the rim interface and align it so that the lateral bearing and radial bearing are both in contact with the left side of the rim. Move the lateral gauge towards the radial gauge until its spring is 50% compressed and tighten the lateral adjustment lever. Raise the wheel advancement motor. If the USB icon is red, tap the Trudi logo to connect to Trudi. Tap Select Wheel Type and choose your wheel parameters from the dropdown. Tap Select once complete. Tap Reset to clear any data from a previous wheel. Tap the pulsing Dish button. Trudi will now rotate the wheel and take measurements. Trudi will rotate the wheel 3 times and ding every time the valve passes the rim interface. The measure button will turn green once Trudi has successfully measured the rim. Lower the wheel advancement motor. Using the hub mount handle, remove the wheel from Trudi. Flip the wheel so that the high tension side is to the right, and insert the wheel into Trudi. We're now entering the start of what we call the truing cycle. We're going to repeat the truing cycle using Trudi to improve the spoke tension, trueness, and dish of the wheel, and incorporating a stress relief procedure. We'll continue the truing cycle until a stress relief procedure doesn't change the wheel spoke tension, dish, lateral runout, or radial runout, at which point we can be confident that the wheel will stay tight and true after being ridden. Raise the wheel advancement motor and tap the pulsing measure button. Trudi will now rotate the wheel and measure lateral and radial runout. The measure button will turn green once measurements are complete. Lower the wheel advancement motor. At this point, Trudi has gathered enough information to show the wheel's dish, lateral runout, and radial runout, and will display this info on the pie chart. Each corresponding section of the pie chart will remain gray if the measurement is outside of the limits you've set, or turn green if the measurements are inside the limits you've set. In the truing cycle, this is our decision point to determine whether the wheel is finished or not. We typically expect a wheel to go through 2 or 3 rounds of this truing cycle and stress relief procedure, getting closer and closer to perfect each time. If this is the first time around the truing cycle, then the wheel obviously isn't finished, so we'll continue on. A wheel will be finished once its lateral runout, radial runout, dish, and spoke tension are all within limits, and when a stress release cycle has not caused the wheel to lose spoke tension or go out of true. Measure the spoke tension on the high tension side of the wheel, starting by placing tensiometer on spoke 2, which is the right side of the wheel, first high tension spoke from the valve, and then moving the valve away from you to measure spoke 4, 6, 8, etc. Measure the spoke tension on the low tension side of the wheel. Start by placing the tensiometer on spoke 1, then moving the valve away from you to measure spoke 3, 5, 7, etc. At this point, Trudi has gathered enough information to fill in all of the measurements on the pie chart. Each corresponding section of this pie chart will remain gray if the measurements are outside of the limits you set, or turn green if the measurement is inside the limit you've set. Trudi has now calculated a solution and will tell you to place the internal nipple driver onto spoke 2, and will tell you how many turns and which direction that spoke nipple will need to be rotated. With one hand, prevent the spoke from twisting by holding it with a spoke holder. With your other hand, place the internal nipple driver onto spoke 2's nipple and depress the trigger. Trudi will then rotate that nipple and prompt you to move on to the next high tension side spoke, spoke 4. Trudi will instruct you to move through all of the high tension side spokes before moving on to the low tension side spokes. Trudi will then automatically start the wheel advancement motor. Stress relieve the wheel, removing it from Trudi if required. Reinstall the wheel with the high tension side to the right, and raise the wheel advancement motor to measure the lateral and radial runout. Trudi has remembered the wheel's dish, so there's no need to remeasure this. You can now start another loop of the Turing cycle. With each loop of the Turing cycle, Trudi will get closer and closer to the perfect wheel. We'd expect a wheel to go through 2 or 3 rounds of the Turing cycle and stress relief procedure before being finished. And there you go. Trudi will have helped you build a ready-to-ride wheel with tolerances tighter than I could do by myself and in a lot less time. If you need any additional support, please check Trudi's website documentation or reach out to the Trudi team.